Presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 and use the promo code WELCOME one and all to Light Years. I've decided to get out of the chair. That's what's going on today. We're getting out of the chair. We're getting out of the chair, not because the Warriors have done something to take us out of the chair, but I feel like we just need a palate cleanser episode. Just discuss something different at this point. And I don't know, did you see? So Bleacher Report published a list of the top 100 players, 100 greatest players. Let's make sure to get it correct. It's okay. Not. It's let's scroll up to the top. Let me read their exact definition. How did they define it here? Yeah. They go the greatest. As fans, as critics, even peers, the question begs, who are the best? We know. Cool. So it's it's a comprehensive list of the top 100 players ever to play in the NBA. And it does seem like obviously it's subjective, but it's not stat-based per se. It's not just award-based. It's not just like impact, fame-based. It's like championship-based. It's trying to combine all those things to figure out who the greatest is. Which, it's always good. It's always good pod fodder. It's always good fun to debate and all that stuff.
It's the most summer conversation ever. We need summer leagues basically coming to a close. Drafts over, free agency slow down, except for the Warriors who have done nothing. But we're getting out of the chair today, as you said. But it's the perfect summer conversation. Keep the content machine going. Give us something to talk about. It's a classic July, August conversation.
I think what was the first thing I want to talk about is they put Steph in their top 10. It made me feel a certain way.
I love it, but I'm gonna disagree with the ranking a little bit. We'll get into that, but yeah, 2022 did so much for him. I saw somebody posted on Twitter the other day, about LeBron's Game 6 in 2012 being like the best game that they've ever seen, just in terms of like the circumstances and like how different the outcome could have been if he wouldn't have won that game. And I feel very similarly about Steph's Game 4 in 2022. I think those are the two games of my like kind of post-Jordan lifetime in a way where it's like those guys had everything riding on those games. Like LeBron would have been like, if they lose that game, he still hadn't won a championship, but like, he's a choker, he's this, he's that. And Steph kind of like exercised, he did the same thing in 2022. He like exercised all those demons. Like you could no longer
shut everyone up.
He shut everybody up. Like the conversation forever changed about him. And like, that's why he ends up in the top 10 in this list. Like it's because of that title in 2022. He's stamped everything that we believed about him prior on that night. And I would be surprised to see really any list at this point, unless it's like an old head. If they're doing a top 10 list, it feels like Steph is going to make 9.
You go, Jerry West.
Yeah, exactly.
Wilt.
Game
MJ number 8.
For him. Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't have hung out in our day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my other thing is when you look at at least the top 20 of this list, how do you feel about it? Like you obviously have disagreements, I have my own disagreements, but do you think it's relatively fair?
Yeah, I mean, these feel like generally the best 20 players or so of all time. Jokic, seeing Jokic at 17, I kind of like got whiplash from it, but it makes sense. Like the guy's a one-time champion, 3-time MVP. You're talking about one of the best offensive players of all time. Having Dr. J at 20, like I don't necessarily disagree with it, but it feels like he doesn't get much mention in these conversations ever for like as great of a career as he had. And some of that was like being in the ABA for a long time, but yeah, you just like don't hear much about him in like these type of conversations. So that was like, oh, that's kind of a cool inclusion. He obviously meant a lot to the game and meant a lot to like a lot of the guys that came after him. Like Jordan, he was a huge idol of Jordan's amongst other guys. But yeah, so I generally think they got it right. Obviously you can have quibbles about guys that should have been included and weren't, but like, yeah, these are generally probably 20 of the greatest players of all time for sure.
Jokic is interesting because it feels both premature and also, if you were to ask me, what active player do I think has the best shot at making it to top 10 all time? Obviously taking Steph and LeBron out of it because they're still active and in the top 10. I'd probably say Jokic. I probably would. Yeah. More so than KD. I think KD's career, this is probably where he's going to end his career in this range.
You'd have to win at least another title to even be considered top 10. The only other guy I'd say that maybe you could throw in there is Giannis. I think Giannis might have a somewhat argument for top 20 of all time. You're talking about obviously one-time champ, but two-time MVP, one-time defensive player of the year. I think you could say maybe he deserves it over like David Robinson or Dr. J. But at the end of the day, you're splitting him with this type of stuff no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely have him over David Robinson. David Robinson, obviously three-time champion and excellent player, but like pre-Tim Duncan, there was not very much team success. It was more individual success. Hard to divorce the two, but Giannis will forever have I was the best guy on a title team, which will automatically put him above guys whose accolades, in my opinion, came as being the second or third best guy on a title team.
Yeah, and Robinson kind of like routinely got his clock cleaned by a lot of his contemporaries. Like Hakeem absolutely took him to the woodshed multiple times in the playoffs. So it's just like there was such a stark difference in how like the talent gap that it's hard to like divorce that and say like he should be top 20 ever.
Yeah. For me, David Robinson is a great player of his era. I put him in the same range as a Karl Malone, as a Charles Barkley, those type of guys.
No, 100%. Like if Robinson doesn't get the benefit of getting Tim Duncan, like he is probably one of those ringless guys. And I think he ended up with 99 and 03, I want to say, is when he won his rings.
100% he in 99 and 03. I want to say he was still on the 05 roster.
I don't think he was. I think he had retired. I think he retired after 03, and then 05 was like it was Timmy.
You are correct. Yeah.
You could argue that Manu was maybe the best player on that 05 team. At least during the playoff run, like 05 Manu was incredible. But yeah, ended up with 2, but like very easily could have ended up with 0. And like you said, he was never the best guy on a title team, but actually has like some insane counting stats if you look into it. So that's kind of why he gets included on something like this.
I remember where I was during that game 7 of the 05 finals. Spurs Pistons. Just you want to talk about fucking prison ball.
Rock fight.
Nothing. Yeah. But I distinctly remember Tony Parker was the X factor in that game and had all like, when a game's like grimy, it's like first to 80 is going to win, which is what it was. It was 81-74.
Yeah.
Tony Parker had that offensive surge in the mid third to early fourth that put the Spurs over the top, and they just never really looked back from that point. So I just have that burnt in my mind. And because of that, I always had Tony Parker a higher tier in my mind because you remember those moments, particularly when you're younger. You're just like, I don't care what the stats say. I saw him, take it to Chauncey Billups in Game 7 when I was a teenager, some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that sort of mentality. So I don't know. I guess I want to let's go here.
Yeah.
It's cool to see Steph universally recognized as top 10 all time. I suspect we both have him higher than number 10.
I do.
So I did my own top 10 list.
I did too.
I know you did yours. So I'm curious. You want to go first? Why don't you start? Why don't you go 1 through 10? It's always.
Oh, you just want me to run through them?
Well, I mean, you can walk through them. I'll stop you when you hit a number that weirds me out. So.
Well, I got MJ at 1. He's unassailable to me. I mean, he's my favorite athlete as a kid. So nobody will ever vault over him. And if you just look at kind of like,
sure.
Just
you don't need to explain why MJ was number 1.
MJ's 1. I mean, I'd like to talk about it just because like I do think, we are reaching a stage where like a lot of people who watch the game never saw MJ play. And like, it feels like LeBron is going to start to end up at number 1 on a lot of these lists 10, 15, 20 years from now. Cause it's just like a sign of the times and a sign of who's making the list.
Sure.
But the longer that MJ holds on to that number 1 spot, the more of a credit is to his, I get his sustainability and like his staying power as like this once in a lifetime athlete. Really, I do have LeBron at 2, and that's just like a sustained excellence thing over 22 years. Like the more years he adds on, it's insane to watch what he's still doing. And I got Kareem at 3, so I have the same top 3, which is kind of boring. Then I go Bill Russell at 4, over Magic, because I know that there was only 8 teams in the league and this or that, but like he did play against somebody that a lot of people argue is like the greatest player of all time. I don't think that. And Wilt is, there's a very like Steph Harden dynamic between like Russell and Wilt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're obviously vastly different players, but like there's a reason that one guy always won. And I don't care how big the league was. If you win 11 championships, that's insane. Like I think that has to keep you in the top 5. And then I go Steph at 5. I have Steph at 5. I got Magic at 6. Tim Duncan at 7. I go Shaq 8, Larry Bird 9, and then Kobe 10.
So you do not have Wilt from their top 10. Is that correct?
Nope. I do not.
So your major change is your Kobe's in your top 10, Wilt is outside your top 10, and you do some shuffling between 4 and 10. Some guys move up a couple, some guys move down a couple.
Yeah, I didn't really basically I just swapped Kobe and Wilt in terms of the top 10s. And yeah, I didn't really have, I don't know. I like their top 3. That really is the top 3 all time to me. I can hear other arguments, but those 3, unless, if Steph wins another title, I'm reopening that top 3 conversation. But for now, those are the top 3 players of all time to me.
I have a different top 3. So
I love
it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. You can feel free to insert at any point. So number 1, MJ, childhood, the dominance over the course of a decade during what is considered modern NBA for me is 80s on. His dominance over that period is unmatched by anyone, both individual and team. It's unassailable. 2 3-peats, retired in the middle. We don't have to discuss why. He just had a hobby, but the point is nobody beat him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he built, I think it's one thing to get to the mountaintop. It's another to keep your team together the way he did. And as we've seen following the Warriors run, it's not as easy as people think. It's just not as easy. Everyone knows, they've watched Last Dance. Everyone knows about like the Pippen contract drama, Dennis Rodman all over the place. But you can go to the first 3-peat. Guys like Horace Grant felt undervalued. The disease of more is real. Injuries are real. The reality of the grind is real. He might be my number 1 if he didn't go 2 3-peats, if he went a 3-peat and a back-to-back. But he did. So I just don't even – I just can't hear an argument for anyone else.
And if you just look at it – no, I can't either. And if you just look at the playoff scoring – like he would literally just score more points as like the team got deeper into the playoffs. It's actually crazy to look at a lot of their playoff series where he'd average like 37 a game and nobody else would be over 18. Because the thing that like, and I think this in particular works for like, really it's MJ, Steph, and Kobe in my mind. You could build these like incredibly defensive slanted rosters around them because of how versatile they were as scorers. You know what I mean? You could
Thunder trying to do that with Shea right
100%. And it's like that same archetype where like, obviously they're amazing on ball, but they can really function off ball. So you can kind of put these like connector type players around them and say, hey man, you just go score. We have faith that you're going to score enough and generate enough good looks for us over the course of 82 or over the course of 48 minutes to where we can just kind of play defense and then we'll figure out the rest. And that's always been the knock in comparison with LeBron to me. You have to put more offensively slanted guys around LeBron because he needs the space to operate. He's not as good like playing off ball or operating in those really confined spaces as like these elite scorers are. And LeBron obviously has his own traits and own skills that these other guys don't. But that's why MJ will always kind of be over LeBron to me, because you can just put less talented rosters around him, for lack of a better term.
And you could make the argument LeBron does more to clean up his teammates defensively, or he can. But the reality is only done that during his Miami Heat period. The rest of the time, he's been uninterested. I could hear an argument that he's the most talented player of all time. He probably is the most talented player of all time. I think too much desire to chase MJ in terms of wanting to be the man on ball all the time instead of kind of using his gifts to the full of his ability. I think there's an argument to be made. He would have won more titles if he wanted to do less on offense and committed to doing more like Draymond Pippen stuff on defense. I'm not saying he's going to average 8 points a game. It's too easy for him to score 20, but he might have won more titles if he had the mentality of the guys I have at number 2 and 3. Yeah. So I have Tim Duncan at number 2, which like, I didn't know where I wanted to go with number 2, but I have such a hard time putting guys who did not there's too many guys who've won more titles than LeBron and Steph for me to put either of them at number 2.
Sure.
I'm sorry, it matters to me, particularly in LeBron's case, when you handpick your team for 15 years. Like, I just don't want to hear about it. I don't want, like, he's one of the greatest of all times, unassailable, but it's like, if you're going to make me split hairs, give me Tim Duncan.
Totally.
Give me the guy who anchored a top 3 defense for 20 years, 20 years in a row, and his role fluctuated. People forget in the early part of his career, they did the same thing with him where it was like, not only does he carry the defense, every possession was a post-up. Every possession was a Tim Duncan post-up. And that was kind of the era. It was like disgusting prison ball, you know.
Sure.
You go look. I was just looking I pulled up that box score. You know, Tim Duncan, Game 7, 2005, 25 points, you know, 11 out of the 81 points. He had 11 rebounds. In the series, he averaged 18 rebounds a game. You know, it was just kind of doing everything his team needed at that point. And I do think, if I'm going to split hairs, as a fan, whose career would you have rather rooted for? Tim Duncan, who brought you 5 titles and consistency along the way, or LeBron, who, you know, jumped teams. So he's not, I mean, what team are you even rooting for? LeBron's your guy. You know what I'm saying?
You're just rooting for LeBron.
Even then, doing it his own way, constantly moving around, doing that, it still did not lead to more titles.
Yeah.
And you can make individual arguments about, oh, injuries happened this year. Over the course of 23 years, come on, man. You know, over the course of 15 or 16 years. So to me, there's a spiritual aspect to it. And Tim Duncan personifies like what a leader of a basketball team should be.
Absolutely. I mean, just one of the most steady, and that's Steph gets compared to him a lot just because like steady forces just kind of like always everything trickles down from them throughout the entire organization. And you kind of wonder how many titles Duncan could have won if he wouldn't have had the knee issues. Like people don't really realize he was never like physically, everything kind of went downhill for him, like kind of right after like the 04-05 range. Like he really had bad knee issues and really couldn't move as well as he once did. But real quick before we move from Duncan, do you know his stats in the closeout game of Game 6 of the 2003 Finals?
Probably a 2020
net series. Yeah. So it's 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, 8 blocks in a closeout game of the NBA Finals. It's insane. The guy never won a Defensive Player of the Year. Like you said, anchored top 3 defenses every single year of his career. It's
won 50 games every single year of his career. And I love Manu Ginobili, but Manu physically was not an all-star. Skill-wise, he was an all-star, but like a lot of his career was playing 22 minutes a game because they wanted to preserve his body. Yeah. Tony Parker was probably the best all-star he played with in terms of consistently playing 30-plus minutes. I don't know. Is he better than Jamal Murray? Are they about the same tier of player? Probably
about the same. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
It's that he didn't play with a ton of talent.
No.
They just played together. I mean, he's a consummate leader. You know, he made a lot of those guys' careers. So he's number 2. Number 3 is Bill Russell for the exact same reason. I never know what to do with the old heads, like of the, you know, black and white TV era and like the 60s, but like he basically invented the modern game defensively. Like he invented the foundation of everything that goes into NBA defense. Foundation of 11 titles. Like what else do you want to say? You know, like
it's as simple as that. Yeah.
4, I have LeBron, although I was trying to sound like a hater the whole time. Like it is hard to look at the resume and go any further than that. Like he is top 5 for me. I'm just thinking of it realistically. I think I value those things more. Number 5, I have Steph for all the same reason. And don't let Steph win number 5 or I might put him number 2. I really might do it.
Same.
Change the game. Really, to me, there's like 3 players who really changed the game. Maybe 4 players, like Bill Russell taking the game vertical with block shots, with rebounding, with running the break. Magic, obviously, big point guard, getting out in transition and showing the value of having ball handlers that aren't just 6 feet tall.
Sure.
MJ is a scoring wing, showing what's possible with a player with that skill set. And then I'd say Steph with what he's done for shooting. Like those are the guys who've just broken like dogma of what works in basketball and like changed archetypes in general.
They shifted the paradigm. They reinvented what people thought could win basketball games, essentially.
My 6 and 7 are Magic and Kareem. And I have one critique of the two of them. Everyone puts them top 3, 4 on their list. If they're top 3, 4 on the list, why were they not like they won a bunch in the 80s? But be honest with me. Like, you think Kareem's the greatest of all time and Magic's the greatest point guard of all time? How are they getting swept by the Houston Rockets? How are they losing to the Celtics? How are they doing all this stuff? I think they're both phenomenal, but I think we do this rewriting of history because of Showtime, because of LA. And again, I have them in my top 10. So there's no true insult here. It's just one of those things.
Sam, you think they suck. You think they suck. You think they're terrible.
I do think they suck for eternity. Yeah, no. So it's like, to me, it's like one of those things where it's like, they're cool. They get it. I don't know. And part of me always feels like I don't remember anyone having Kareem in their top 3 all time when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the MJ era. And I feel like Kareem's got elevated as a way for people to make the argument for LeBron being the greatest of all time because they just want to talk about numbers. Just look at the amount of games played. Look at the amount of points. Look at this. You know, this is a 2
I do wonder. It's funny because like Steph and KD being on the same team was like illegal when it happened. And obviously the circumstances are different. You know, KD signed as a free agent. Magic got drafted to the Lakers. So it is a little bit different. But I have always wondered how like Magic and Kareem would have been talked about if they had like a modern media landscape. You know, like that kind of stuff is just like glossed over. Like you're saying like, oh, they're 2 of the best 5 players of all time. But they also played together for like the entirety of Magic's career, basically until 1988, 89, until whenever Kareem retired. And Kareem was pretty washed those last couple of years. So like, I think that's some people's argument, but you still had like,
but the first 3 titles, Kareem was
one of the best players in the world. Still,
you know, he was the team went around him. It was a Kobe Shaq dynamic there where, you know, the older guy was the guy that everything went through and the younger guy was the one that the fans were more into. And you could make a case at times is more important.
Imagine how people would have discounted the 1980 ring if it was like if it was modern day for Kareem, like, oh, he got carried by Magic. He didn't even play in game 6. It'd be so funny. But like all anybody talks about is like, oh, Magic started for Kareem because Kareem was injured. They never like do the inverse of that where it's like that title shouldn't count for Kareem. It's just so funny how when it happened in history, it just changes the conversation around it so much.
It's also hilarious because Kareem in that 1980s playoffs averaged 32 points, 32, 12, and 4. He was well on his way to winning finals MVP, and then he couldn't play in game 6, and Magic put together, I mean, to be honest, one of the coolest. Like, just imagine how cool it is. It's like, oh, we're missing our best player. Me as a rookie, I'm just going to show up and, you know, put everyone on blast. It's like, and that's honestly part of the reason why I think they always end up top 5. They are just cool. There's not another way around it.
Totally. And like for a rookie to do that, I mean, he had played a couple years in college, but he wasn't like 24 years old yet. He's like 21 or 22. It actually 20. Is. Yeah. It's actually insane how that performance just in general, people like what people do. They like kind of overbear on like, oh, he played center. It's like, no, it's not that he played center. He had like 40 and 15. He was like the best player on the floor to close out the finals.
Kareem in the 5 games he played averaged 33, 14, and 5 blocks. So it was very much like throw it to the old man inside, let him post up. And then when he had to miss a game with, I want to say it was the ankle. It was the ankle or the knee.
I think it was an ankle.
He had to miss a game. Then Magic shows up and just reminds everyone why he was the number 1 pick and the chosen one there.
Yep.
So anyway, they're my 6 and 7. No disrespect. At number 8, I got Larry Bird. To me, the weird part about the Bleacher Report list is having Bird above Steph. I think you could comfortably say they've had similar careers.
Yeah. And
Steph's probably outlasted him at this point. And some of that's just because like Larry didn't play as long, but similar type of thing. I have Shaq at number 9. If we're doing a most talented list, Shaq's in my top 3. I think one of the most dominant players I've ever seen, but his prime is a little shorter lived, a little less serious. you can't take away what I saw with my eyes from like 00 to 03.
He was
But
insane.
yeah, but like, we're looking, we're splitting hairs here. So there. And then like you, I have Kobe in my top 10. I have a hard time with Wilt. I get it. He's like an urban legend. He's Paul Bunyan, all those sort of things, but didn't really win enough in his era. Russell won everything in his era. So I'm just going to give it to Kobe. Wilt's probably my number 11 or 12.
There's just too many stories about Wilt where it's just like he didn't really care about winning. He was all about like what made Wilt look best, like just in terms of counting stats. And again, if we're doing like a most talented list, he probably goes in the top 5, but just in terms of like we said, if the parameters are the greatest, then he probably isn't in the top 10. He just didn't win enough. He just flat out didn't with the amount of talent that he had.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we definitely gotta pay a bill here, huh? We've already been going for like 25 minutes. Light Years Podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season may be over, but the action doesn't stop on Prize Picks because baseball is just heating up. Step up to the plate with Prize Picks and add your favorite baseball players to your lineup, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Make your call with more or less and play for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. I told you guys to pick Ricky Fowler yesterday. I am ashamed of myself. Sam went with Scotty, and Sam was right. Scotty went 7 under today. He's the easy pick. Just if you're going to play the British Open the rest of this weekend, just go with Scotty Scheffler. It's just the easy play. He's clearly the best golfer in the world right now, and it just feels like anytime he's like even brings his like B-level game, he's probably going to win the tournament. So if you're going to play the British Open the rest of the weekend, definitely go with Scotty. Just go more on any line that Scotty has. That would be my advice. So download the app today and use code LIGHTYEARS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LIGHTYEARS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Guys, going to tell you about our friends over at Body Spec. We've been talking about them all season. You want to start your fitness journey? You need a DEXA scan. What is a DEXA scan? It's a highly accurate method of measuring your body's composition, lean body fat percentage, lean muscle mass, visceral fat, the fat around your organs, basically the stuff pro athletes do to make sure they're in tip-top shape. And what our friends at Body Spec have done is made this affordable for all. So traditionally, these things cost $300, $400, $500, very difficult to get. With Body Spec, use the code LIGHTYEARS45, get a DEXA scan for only $45. Locations in the marina, locations in Embarcadero, and they got mobile vans, so they'll come to you. It's really that simple. Just go to BodySpec.com, use the code LIGHTYEARS45, schedule your DEXA scan, have them come out to you 10, 15 minutes, and start your fitness journey. Other Warriors made this list. I actually was expecting to get like upset that they weren't going to put Warrior players on it, but
yeah.
Basically all the key dynasty guys, like who you'd expect was on it. So I'm just going to go backwards. Let's start with Klay. Klay came in at 98.
Okay.
To debate this, we'd have to go through everything. But I think my overarching take here is I think if Klay never plays another game of basketball, he's still top 75.
Yeah, he should be.
They just did the top 75 at All-Star like a year and change ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years now.
And I felt like he got snubbed not getting invited to that period.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to argue about Hal Greer or like some of these old heads, but I'll tell you this, when I look at this list, it's like Dame, phenomenal player. I can tell the history of basketball without talking about Damian Lillard. I cannot tell the history of basketball without talking about Klay Thompson.
Dame has made one conference finals in his entire career. Like, I don't know how you put that guy top 75. Like, we just saw him, and this list got done before he went to, or not this list specifically, but the top 75 of all time did for like the NBA one. That got done before he went to Milwaukee, but he went to Milwaukee and he didn't help them win. They're arguably worse with him than they were with Drew. They
were worse with him than they were with Drew.
Like, what are we doing here? And obviously the Chris Middleton thing plays a big part in that. But I don't understand how you put a guy like that over Klay Thompson. And it just really sucks for Klay because he was like, obviously we've gone over this ad nauseum, but he was kind of hitting his, like, it felt like he was hitting his real peak right when he suffered his injuries. And talking about a guy who was I get second or third fiddle on 4 title teams. And you're bringing this up right now. You're showing where Reggie and Ray are at. Reggie's at 54, Ray's at 51.
That's where he should have been.
Are the Warriors more successful with either of those guys over Klay during the dynasty era? I would almost argue no. Reggie couldn't defend like Klay defended. Ray couldn't defend like Klay defended. And that was a huge part of what made those teams so good was, I mean, this is the way to put it. Klay is the best 3-and-D player of all time. Like, he's obviously not going to have a huge offensive decision-making load, and you don't want him to have that. That's not his skill set. But he is so good at those 2 specific things, shooting the basketball and then at his peak, defending on the perimeter, that there's good, in my eyes, there's never been anybody better at it. And I would be hard-pressed to find anybody who ever would be better at it without having to do too many other things that like almost negatively impact their team as well. He was so comfortable just being in that role and not asking for more.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I just have to put Klay with Reggie and Ray because those 3, and honestly, really with Reggie, they are like maximizing a specific off-ball shooter archetype. Like Steph can do that too, but he does so much on ball. He's also smaller than them, so there's some differences. But you're talking about that like prototypical 6'6" long wing who can get their shot off movement against anyone. Like those are the 3 greatest of all time. I understand why he falls farther below these 2. The injuries robbed him of, the second half of his prime, really. Like it really did. Like, what does Klay look like if he never gets injured and plays probably at his peak till he's 34? Looks a lot different, right? So, I mean, that's rough. I have a qualm with when you start going through this list, you see like Paul George and Jimmy Butler ranked ahead of Klay. Jimmy, I can hear a case for the Heat reasons, but like Paul George, Grant Hill was excellent. Injuries robbed Grant Hill very similarly to the way they robbed Klay.
More so, but he didn't have a better career. Like
no, he
had a higher peak, but how long was that peak? 2 or 3 years, realistically. Sure. And then the foot injury started happening, and he was no longer that guy. And like never wanted anything meaningful. Like you said, great player, but yeah, it does feel very disrespectful to Klay. It's funny because there was this big shift with Klay where like the big Steph detractors would try to say, well, actually Klay is more important to the Warriors than Steph is. You would hear that conversation all the time. And now it's shifted to where Klay is actually undercredited in a lot of these conversations because he's just kind of fallen out of the basketball zeitgeist in a way. He's just kind of like an afterthought when he shouldn't be, because he was, for 8 years, he was, I'd argue, the 3rd most important player, and then I guess 4th when KD was there, but the 3rd most important player on historically great teams. How many guys can say that? It's like, 5 guys in NBA history who have been like that important to historically great teams.
Oh, now I'm just thinking about 2019. No one will convince me that they weren't going to win that series coming from no one will convince me if he didn't get hurt. He was on that was one of the best games I've ever seen him play when he tore his ACL. Yeah. I think
flame throwing.
Yeah. I would argue like game 6 against ones he played to completion will by default be better. Yes. But like in terms of the basketball he's playing, I've never seen him play better basketball than he was playing in that moment. They were terrified of him. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
And they didn't know what to do with like the Warriors had figured out how they wanted to play, and they were getting just Klay and Steph every shot they wanted. And Toronto was like holding on for dear life.
But more so Klay, because they were so heavily focused on Steph, because they had slanted so much towards Steph because of KD being out and then Klay missing some time in that series as well. As great as 2022 felt and will always feel, 2019 like almost hurts just as much, if not more. It for so many reasons. It's not just the fact that they lost the series; it's how it happened. And it feels like we were really robbed of something. And obviously, 2022 like coats over a lot of that. But still, in moments when I'm like regretting things about the dynasty era, 2019 is always probably going to be the top of that list, because it just felt like they had a chance to like exercise all those 3-1 demons. Like that would have been so cool to like do the inverse to somebody else.
Alas, yeah. So Draymond ends up on this list. I was halfway expecting him not to.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but he comes in at 88. Let me ask you this. Because he's a unique player. It's very hard to discuss him in historical context as an all-around player, but he is one of the 3 or 4 best defensive players of all time. Easily the best of his era, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to tell me like Rodman or Pippen were better in their era, or Bill Russell was better, or Tim Duncan, I'll hear it.
KG, yeah.
Sure, yeah. But like to his era, he set the tone defensively, and he changed the game.
I mean, he's obviously on the short list of the greatest defenders ever. They're top 5, top 10, however you want to place it. I haven't seen a better one. Having Rodman that high above him, 21 spots different. Like, I just don't know how you get there. I guess the rebounding, you can argue, is the difference between Rodman and Draymond.
But you could argue the passing, the uniqueness of Draymond anchoring a defense and being the like transition engine. Mm-hmm. Like he was like Rodman and Magic in one. Obviously, he didn't have the upside of Magic offensively, but like, yeah, that's essentially what they did. His role essentially turned into that over time, where they're just like rip and run. He knows exactly. He'll make the right decision. I mean, how many moments in Warriors history are defined by stop, Draymond transition, Steph, Klay 3, you know?
Yep. Or like Andre slipping to the rim for a dunk out of that transition. Yeah. You know what? Because everybody goes to Steph and then it's an Andre dunk. Yeah. Or obviously short roll, Draymond finds the lob. And I think the biggest misnomer, and even like Warriors fans do this with Draymond, it's like, well, like he needs Steph to be successful offensively. It's like, of course, Steph helps. Steph helps everybody. But like his passing feel and his vision and his timing and his accuracy, that stuff isn't dependent on Steph. It's obviously dependent on playing with players greater than him, players that can warp a defense. He needs a somewhat warped defense to attack, or a certain system that runs a certain way, more motion.
He's not breaking you off the dribble. He's not. No. You're not gonna be Shea at the top of the key breaking off the dribble.
No,
unless you're Rudy Gobert.
But just right. But just in terms of forwards or big men who can play make, he's one of the best ever at that. If you were defining playmaking as not necessarily breaking the defense down, just like the actual, like I said, the vision, the timing, the understanding of angles and where bodies are at, like that stuff is really hard. You know, like especially on an NBA floor with how quickly the game moves, it feels like he's always kind of a step ahead of where the defense is going to be. Like he throws some of the most perfect lobs I've ever seen. Like always on time, always on target, always kind of knows where like his defender can catch it. Obviously makes some dumb passes too, but like there's always a high risk, high reward with guys who are going to try some risky passes. But yeah, I guess you could kind of say Rodman's rebounding is Draymond's playmaking. You know what I mean? So they kind of do bring these like extra skills that accentuate a great team. So I just don't understand having them. Like if you want to drop Dennis down to the 80s and Draymond's there too, fine. But if you're going to have Dennis at 67, I don't understand why Draymond's not in that same range, because they really are. Their impact on winning is very, very, very similar.
And their antics are
incredible.
I mean, they always
Rodman arguably crazier.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
In completely different ways. But yes, it's, I don't know. To me, they should be bulked up there. The other one is New Warrior Jimmy Butler, who I haven't even, because like I've spent a lot of time thinking about the core 3 of the dynasty years in historic context. I haven't spent a bunch of time thinking about where Jimmy fits into historical context. But I mean, if he never wins a title, what he did with the Heat will be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how to. It's not in the tier of the champions. It's not in the tier of the second options on champions, the Scottie Pippens, the Clays, those type of guys. It's not even, in my opinion, in the tier of like the James Harden, the Charles Barkley, where they were like, they did everything but win a title.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like right below that. And yeah, probably fair.
Yeah. I mean, he has a very, very unique career. Like if you just kind of look at the whole thing, he was a late first round draft pick who like started out as just a literal like.
Do you have him above Bob Lanier? No.
But just he had a really, really unique career. Like there aren't many comparison points for it. Like how many guys could just kind of be this like, I don't know, 20-point a game scorer in the regular season, and then all of a sudden like he plays against Giannis in a series and is better than Giannis. over a 5-game series. Like, how many guys could you say that about? Where he was kind of just a top 20 player during the regular season, and then in the playoffs he can turn into like a top 5 guy or masquerade as that. I really wish we would have got to see him not be injured when Steph went out and see what that would have kind of looked like against that Minnesota defense. He looked very hampered to me. Maybe I'm just coping or making excuses, but I don't think that I am. Having Paul George over him is a batshit insane to me.
Also Hal Greer.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. I don't even know what to do with like the old heads on the list. Like,
I don't either.
I feel pretty comfortable talking about anyone 90s on, and I know my 80s very well.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into like the 60s and stuff, it's like, oh, Bill Russell, it's like
there's no footage. Oh, Chris Bosh at 71, huh? Wasn't expecting that.
Another career cut short,
Yeah.
So
Yep. But no, I mean, Jimmy's just a tough one, man. Like, I do think he deserves to be included in this list for sure. But I don't really know who to compare him to because just of the uniqueness of his career from start to finish.
Who would you put higher, Kyrie Irving or Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Because
give me Jimmy.
We just passed Kyrie on the list.
Give me Jimmy. Kyrie got the benefit of play. I mean, look at the guys Kyrie's played with over the course of his career. LeBron James, Kevin Durant.
He did hit one of the bigger shots in NBA history, though.
I guess.
He does have some stones. He was the second best player on that title team.
Okay. How many championships?
Like, I have a harder time with like someone like Damian Lillard being ranked ahead of Kyrie, being ranked ahead of Jimmy, being ranked ahead of Klay, some of these guys. And like, Dame's awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's just like, okay, but your career was just 12 years on what was essentially like a 7-8 seed for most of your career, never really mattered.
Bay Area native, you got to give him his flowers, but I think he's one of the most overrated players of all time. I just do. Like, what he did never really mattered that much. He's like a fun scorer, put up some huge numbers, could go for 60 and get super hot, but like it never really connected to anything meaningful. I'm sorry. Like, I know
I also think the Milwaukee thing really hurts him legacy wise, just because it's like every hypothetical about him, about how, well, if he played with better players, he could basically be
Steph.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah, it's funny. I follow a couple Bucks fans because I've always I like Giannis as a player, so I follow some Bucks people. And one of the guys I've interacted with over the years, he DM'd me after Giannis or Dame was officially gone, and he was like, "Dude, I understand your pain now as a Warriors fan, having to do the Dame Steph stuff for as many years as you did." He's like, he was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had as a fan about Dame. That was his take on it. So yeah, Dame is just, I don't understand how he ends up over all these guys because he just never impacted winning. Like, even like a Kyrie, like, say what you want about Kyrie, his inconsistency, some of the off the court stuff with just like how kind of off the wall he can be. But I don't think there's any question that he's, a way more impactful guy at like the highest level of winning than Dame is. I really don't. And on the Jimmy part, just to go back to that, we say Kyrie. I would take Jimmy over Kyrie. Put Jimmy on the Warriors in 2016 instead of KD. How many titles do they have? I think they still win 2.
Yeah.
Probably not as dominant, but I think they still win 2 titles. You're talking about peak Steph, peak Klay, peak Draymond, peak Jimmy. They're still winning at least 2 championships in 3 years. And Jimmy might want to stay for longer.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like, Jimmy's an eccentric guy too, so you never know where that ends in terms of happiness and desire to continue going down that path. But yeah, no, I hear the argument. The list gets really wacky when you get in the second half, and like, to be fair, it is what it is. Once you get to that one, it's like, all right, you nail the top 25. You're generally reasonable in the top 25. People will give you a little grace on that sort of stuff. It's kind of fun to look at this stuff after the end of the day.
I think the better way to do it is more almost by like just to tier it, right? Because like just doing a straight 1 through 100, because like you can just split hairs so much. Like, well, this guy should be ahead of that. I would rather just kind of like tier it out and say like these guys like stay. You know what I mean? And you can have qualms within those tiers, but like, I don't know, like, what's the difference between 65 all time and 70? It's like such a narrow gap, but it makes for the most perfect arguments,
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end it here. Appreciate everyone.